All right, we are now recording officially. We're gonna have to call this the 4th of July special, right? I think this.
Yeah, I mean, why not? It's close enough, right?
There's gonna be lots of fireworks, right? I don't.
In this broadcast,
now you're making all that noise, and Phil.
You said Phil said I couldn't hear me anyway.
Phil's gonna
I was moving my microphone right in front of my face because I'm worried about it now. Okay.
Phil has you self-conscious of.
Yes, because we want to do everything we can to make it easier on Phil.
That's right. That's right. We got to make it easy on Phil. We got to make it easy on Phil. So do you got any big plans for 4th of July?
Nope.
No. Nope. We were going to go to a cookout here in a little bit, and it started pouring down rain, and now the sun's out, but it looks like it might rain again. So some of our 4th of July festivities might already have bitten the dust.
It's raining here, and we haven't had real rain for, I don't know, a month or something. We're under like a severe drought. It started raining last night. It's rained into this morning. I mean, it's really, it's almost rained enough to where I said we could shoot some fireworks off tomorrow, maybe.
Really? Okay.
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, I said we're going to do some little ones that won't leave the ground because I don't want them going over to I got 10 acres. I don't want them going over to the neighbors or something you can't see. You know what I mean? Those mortars, and that's really what they want to shoot is a bunch of mortars and stuff. And I don't want them going and cut the neighbor's field on fire or something,
I understand. I mean, it's the last thing you want to do is have one land on somebody's roof or something. And
I'm not worried about the roof because it would take it'd take a lot to burn a house down.
Really? I've heard a story about chicks catching on fire.
I told that story, but they ran into the house. They started into the
in the dog box,
and through the detached garage in there, and the vinyl siding caught it on fire. But a roof is an asphalt shingle roof is very hardy.
Oh, really?
Yes, the shake roof is not hardy at all. So if you're out west and you have those beautiful shake roofs people like, or the fancy $1 million houses with those wood roofs, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
they will burn in a second.
Ooh. Yeah, I think some of those places, I would think they would almost have to not let you build with that stuff.
Well, I think State Farm, our American Family, they have a, I don't remember if it's called Diamond Policy. I don't think it's Golden Policy. I think it's Diamond Policy. So if you have a, I'm getting two policies mixed up because it's been a while since I went. I planned on being an adjuster one time. It was going to be my retirement job before I got into the lucrative podcast business. But anyway, if you replace a shake roof, they will waive your deductible. There's only two ways to get your deductible waived, and that's one, have a house that's with a value of more than $1 million insured, and they waive the deductible. And I always think that's funny is they waive the deductible that people who couldn't really afford it, but that's so much of America, right? And the other thing is, if you have a shake roof and you're going to asphalt shingles, if you're replacing a shingle roof after a storm or something, they will waive the deductible if you put asphalt shingles on it to get away from the shake.
Interesting. I mean, whatever it takes, probably to save them money in the long run.
Because a shake roof is very expensive, and they can be very brittle. We didn't talk about the roof business. What are we talking about today? You said we had 2 positive reviews.
Well, yeah, so the last time we kind of we were talking about the guy who gave us a bunch of crap, who spelled the word moron wrong. Okay,
that really bothered you. I got a kick out of it. I thought maybe it was a fire for effect. He did that to see if we would catch it.
I don't think so. I think he wasn't a very good speller.
Okay.
I just feel like if you're going to come at somebody, at least spell check it. You know what I'm saying? So we got this on Apple Podcast. So it shows up. It's a guy his name's Eddie Cobbs from Great Britain.
Okay.
So, which I
like him already.
Yeah, I love that we have so many fans overseas.
Right.
So he gave us 5 stars. Says brill, which I'm assuming, maybe I shouldn't, that means brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Okay, so
say that again. 5 stars means brilliant, brilliant, brilliant.
No. He gave us 5 stars, and then the title is brill. Okay, you put a title,
Okay.
Can you give us
and you think that was?
I think it means brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. I think.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know what it is. But it says, great podcast. Been listening for a year now from the UK. You guys are great. The Howler has great stories and his delivery cracks me up. Keep up the good work, guys. Thumbs up. So there you go, man. He appreciates all your stories and your delivery.
Well, wait till I get on some English stories, and he might not.
Do you have some English stories?
I do have some English stories. I got all kinds of English stories.
Oh gosh, should we?
No, well, let's finish. Don't sidetrack me. Let's go
And then,
where we're gonna go, and then maybe we'll swing back.
Well, okay, I'll get you back there because here we got another one. I don't know. This guy is on YouTube. Here with Dave is his handle, and it says, "You normies make me laugh every week. I'll hang around for at least 15 minutes." Well, you remember the guy called us normies, and we're like, "What's that mean?" And so he's tongue in cheek calling us normies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I done forgot because that's what I do with negative stuff. I just shed it like rainwater.
Well,
ducks back.
Well, ironically, since this is coming out the 4th of July, and we gained our independence from Great Britain, maybe a Great Britain story would be good.
Well, you know what's funny is I had a good friend of mine, Danny. I'm not going to say his last name. I almost said his last name just now, and that was his big thing when we were over in England. My old job, we'd go to England a lot, and he would always be walking around with the hotel people or bar people or waitresses and go, "Y'all don't do nothing for 4th of July." And a lot of them wouldn't figure it out, wouldn't get it. You know what I mean? When they'd walk away, that's when he would laugh. He wouldn't necessarily laugh to them, but.
So it's not quite. It doesn't have quite the same feeling over there on the 4th of July, and they probably don't even. You think they even care anymore? I mean, why would they care?
What is people? How would I know what people care about? You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, you've been over there, right? They seem to like Americans, right? So, I mean,
I have never had a bad experience. But at the same time, I don't even know what Americans think about. Okay, and you're asking me to opine on some foreign ideas. Plus, a lot of the people I associated with over there, a lot of them, how do I say it? They probably. When you get outside of Greater London, it's when people in London are like saying people in I don't want to say New York, because people in New York are different, city people. So there is a divide between metropolitan people and rural people over there, just like there is over here.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the answers and the worries you get from people in Greater London is going to be different than if you're up in the Cotswolds, which is where I spent my time when I was vacationing and stuff. So my dad had a place up there, lived for several years, and that's where we would spend our time. And it's
the where? The Cotswold?
The Cotswolds. Cotswalds. The highest point in Great Britain is in the Cotswolds.
And your dad had a place there?
Yeah, my dad worked over there for 7 years, 8 years, 7 years, 8 years.
Well, he was an engineer, right?
Yeah, he ran some engineers. He's a project manager. My youngest brother was extra in the 3rd or 4th Harry Potter film. It was filmed at Gloucester Cathedral there. Good Catholic kids. They all went to Catholic school. And
how have I never heard this?
Well, maybe I don't know. Surely I thought I talked about it, didn't I?
No, I've never heard that part.
Well, by golly, I don't know. Maybe I did. I don't know.
So your youngest brother went to school over in England?
My two youngest brothers, 2 youngest sisters did. Where it's hard, like they in grades in middle, what we would call middle school, upper elementary, middle school, high school. I mean, they had to do 2 foreign languages like Latin and Spanish type stuff. Mm-hmm.
And so they went
and wear little uniforms. Maybe I'll send you a picture. You can't post it, but yeah, I mean they're all grown up now. But yeah, you know.
Did any of them stay over there, settle over there?
No, they didn't. They came back and no, they all live they live closer to you than they do me. Most of them, one of them lives over by Columbus and the other ones live outside Indianapolis, basically.
Really? I'm totally amazed. I had no idea that they spent so much time over in England.
Yep, sure did.
Did they enjoy it or not?
Yes and no. I think they did. You know, they're kids. I mean, how do your kids? I mean,
don't get me started.
I just took my kid to Yellowstone, and one of them complained half the time.
Well, that's what kids do. That's their specialty. So I think that would be kind of cool. I mean, I think it would be kind of cool to have that experience as a kid growing up in a foreign country. I mean, I think that, but then I remember, you know, what part are you going to miss back here? You know, living in America, you're going to miss third and fourth grade, and then all of a sudden come back. And
I think there was yes, there was probably some of that went on, yes, because then they just get inundated, you know, like my youngest brother, I think he came back when he was in sophomore, junior. So
what are you going to do?
Yeah.
You know, you don't have the same friends. You wouldn't, because it's not it's not like now where you could probably, if you left for a couple of years, at least do some FaceTime stuff.
Yes, right.
Email.
Yeah, that was before.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's interesting. That's fair. So what are the Cotswolds then? It's just a region in Great Britain?
It's a region, like saying the Adirondacks or it's smaller, like the Ozarks. You know, it's so much smaller. I think the total volume of the British Isle there is, not including Ireland, is what this. It's like the size of Kentucky on its side, you know, up and down.
Yeah,
or something like that. You know what I mean? So
I don't think it's very big. Yeah,
it's a region of. It's just a region of the. It's a very hilly region. It reminds you of, if you've ever been down the Texas Hill Country.
No,
you know, like Bandera, Bandera, Texas. Okay, so my God, do you need to get out? You need to get out of Ohio, man.
I do get out of Ohio. I just don't head to Texas.
Going to the Outer Banks every year is not doing you good. So anyway, it's got these hills, and I don't know my geology. I probably read why it was, but it's got these pronounced hills. Okay, and they go up to probably. I mean, I can look it up real high, real close. You know, I think 4,000 or 5,000 feet. 4,500 feet is probably the highest area. Let me look real quick. So it's a location. It's history. It's a designated area of outstanding natural beauty. There you go. 787 square miles. It's the third largest protected landscape in England after the Lake District and Dales Park. It's roughly 25 miles by 90 miles.
Wow, that's not very big.
Well, yeah, but the place. The place ain't very big compared to what we have here space wise. But it's all about quality, not quantity, right? So I would give up some. I would give up some of what we have here for some of what they have there. But let's not even get to it. So I'm trying to get to the highest point. I think the highest point, is it called Cotswold Hill or something like that? I should have looked it up in. Maybe Cleve Hill is the highest point. So Cleve Hill, that's right. That was within a mile of his house. Cleve Hill. And it's, holy cow. Are you ready for this highest point?
Go
I was off by about 4,000 feet. It's 1,080 feet.
That's not very high.
Well, I mean, if the rest of you is sitting on the ocean, you know what I mean? Sea level. So,
And then he didn't think he didn't want to keep it. I mean,
well, he rented it as part of his the package when he worked there, you know. So when he actually left there, when the kids they all came back to the States, and then he went and lived in Dubai for about 4 years, 3.5, UAE, Dubai, probably 3 or 4 years. I don't remember now.
Holy smokes! I bet he has to have some good stories, doesn't he?
He's got some great stories. He's got some great stories. He keeps talking about being on here sometime. We just haven't got the microphone in front of him.
Next time you go, we need to at least record it and have it in the bank.
Yes. Go ahead.
Well, go ahead, and then because there was another tangent I was going to go off.
Because what I was going to say, some of it we could just hold, just like Hartman. I should have been talking to Hartman, and then even if we had to hold it till he passed, you know what I mean? It would have been fantastic. It would have been gold.
Which reminds me, we're going to have on. Remember, I told you I got a song on the Girls Next Door album coming out.
Right.
Okay. So I talked to Diane. One of the members of the group. So they're going to come on with us at the end of July, and we're going to have all access to some, she claims they got some really good old time country music stories that they're going to come on and share with us. And I said, all right.
I'm sure they're going to be the best because
they were pretty, I don't even know who to compare them to, but they had some, 2 or 3 top 40 songs in the late 80s, early 90s. And they had a record, good record deal. They were on the radio and stuff and toured with a lot of people. So they got some stories, I'm sure. And she said it would sound like it'd be a lot of fun to come on and talk with me and you. And I said, well, I'm sure it'll be fun.
Well, I tell you, I think some of the older stories, because think about some of the off the hook stuff that's around the entertainment world now. Now, hold on a second. Let me back up. You know some people, old heads, just like I've known a few that worked in the 60s, 70s, and 80s before. I'm just thinking about people think like kids my son's age, right? They think they're the only crazy people now because they watch it on YouTube or Instagram or something like that, right? So they think craziness started with social media.
I don't even think the people in the entertainment business today are even that crazy, to be honest.
They can't be because they got all these cameras and shit. I've got a book up there in my nightstand about John Wayne.
Oh, gosh, I could only imagine.
And there's a part in that book they talk about when these guys, him and like Dean Martin and some of these guys that would finish a movie, like the,
Rio Bravo.
Yeah, Rio Bravo, one of them. So now remember, this is before credit cards and debit cards and ATM cards, and they would go down to the bank and get $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, which was the equivalent of like 50 or 100 now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they would drive. Maybe get a couple cases of liquor, couple dozen cartons of cigarettes because stuff was harder to get down there. And they would drive to some backwater place down the Yucatan Peninsula. They would drive into Mexico and it would be like them and like people like Howard Hawks and maybe John Ford. And these people would just hold up in a hotel for 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks. Sometimes it took a week or two for word to get out that they were down there. And then it would take these guys. I think John Ford had a boat, and he would take it down the western coast of California and Mexico down to this resort. You know what I mean? So it might take him 2 weeks to get down there, right? And they would just smoke and drink and gamble and come up with movie ideas, just do whatever they wanted to for a month or two at a time.
Oh man, old Hollywood's the best. I'm just gonna say that old Hollywood is the best.
So isn't that some stuff? Well, the people nowadays don't even think about that. Tom Mix, the legendary cowboy. I think what killed him was the aluminum case full of money in the back of his car that hit him in the back of the head, wasn't it?
I don't know. Is that a true story?
Yes. Here, you make me look it up. I feel like all you hear me do is type. So you know who Tom Mix was?
Yeah, I know who Tom Mix was. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And he was in a car accident. He was in a car accident in a case.
I'm going to tell you the car. Yep. So he was from. Do you know where he was from?
291 films.
Mix
He was
Run, Pennsylvania. Hold on a second. And when he died, hold on. Are you reading it with me?
I'm
Death. So October 12th, 1940, after visiting the Pima County Sheriff Ed Nichols in Tucson, he headed north of Phoenix on U.S. Highway 80, now Arizona State Route 79. About 18 miles south of Florence, Mix came upon a construction barriers at a bridge washed away by a flash flood. Unable to stop his car at time, he swerved twice, then overturned in a gully. A large aluminum suitcase containing traveler's checks and jewels situated on the package shelf behind his head. So he was driving a, let me find what car he was driving.
Yeah, it doesn't say in this.
It was a,
what is very interesting is, so his real last name was Mix, and he was born in Mix Run, Pennsylvania. I wonder if that has.
So if you
village
look
is
up,
not tracked by the U.S. Census Bureau.
If you look up Tom Mix's Accord 812, okay, so
what is
Phaeton,
an Accord? What is an Accord?
Back in those, it was just a Accord, CORD 812. Phaeton, Phaeton. So it was a turbocharged, I think it might have had an inline 10 or 12 cylinder.
You can buy one right now for about $155,000.
Is that what it is? There you go.
Man, those things are giant.
So see how it hit back in the two-door. If you had the top down, it had that little rack on the back to put your luggage on. You know, like the Corvettes in the 70s would have. You know what I'm talking about? Like a little luggage rack.
And that flew for. So imagine having so much money, traveler's checks, and jewelry that you need a aluminum case big enough that if it hits you in the back of the head, it'd kill you.
Well, I'm just reading right here. So it says at a time when the average U.S. salary was less than $1,500 a year, Mix was earning as much as $10,000 per week when talkies replaced silent films in the 20s.
That's staggering. That is staggering. Mm-hmm. Oh gosh!
But they had to carry it with them because they did. You know, they couldn't go over to the is there a U.S. Bank or Wells Fargo ATM here? You know what I mean? I'll come over. You know what I mean? They had to take stuff with them, and then they traditionally went to the same places because then they could write a check. You know what I mean? So they knew if John Wayne or John Ford or even Tom Mix rolled into whatever little hotel, you know, they maintain these relationships a lot of times so they could sign the ticket or write a check. You know what I mean?
Well, and he went through an era of the Great Depression too, so there probably wasn't a lot of trust in banks anyway, you know?
Yeah. So, I mean, having the backseat of your car.
Golly. Golly, what a way to go. Money killed him. All the fame and money.
I think physics killed him, mass times velocity. So.
Oh, gosh. Speaking of that time period and the 4th of July, I've been listening to this really interesting series on the Manhattan Project.
There you go. I can't wait it's coming out. Oppenheimer's coming out.
Yeah, and that's why I've talked about them before, the last podcast on the left. And if, they're not for everybody, they're super, they're funny and crude and stuff.
There's a reason why they say last podcast on the left, right?
That's right. But I mean,
they could be considered liberal.
I think they're a little bit down the middle, but okay. But either way, they're super well researched, and it was a 6-part episode, and I'm only through part 5, and I'm going to tell you what, like it's so interesting, the race between the Russians and the Nazis and the Americans, and who was ahead of who, and to get to this point, and Truman then having to have to decide, we're gonna drop it, and whether it was even necessary at the end to drop the atomic bomb. But this last episode was brutal because it was describing what happened in the immediate aftermath in Hiroshima, just the bomb's effects, and anybody that really wants to dig into that, I hate to tell you, go listen to another podcast, but it's worth it to go.
And that's why people are railing on the movies right now, right?
Well, yeah, and that's the kind of
They're upset over what the movie, but they didn't say anything about, what killed more people than Hiroshima or Nagasaki is the fire bombings that we did leading up to
yes,
that.
yeah, absolutely. It's funny.
So they don't
Yeah,
mean nothing. But you
yeah.
know what? Hey, finish what you're going to say, and I'm going to say what I'm going to say, and
Well, and that's what they kind of said. They said the Oppenheimer movie is going to stop well short of probably of explaining then what really happened with with when the atomic bomb was dropped and stuff. And
they had to make a statement first of all.
yeah,
They dropped it to make a statement more as much as anything.
Yeah, I mean that's what it seemed like. The second one, though, probably was terribly unnecessary.
No, it wasn't. Hey, if Japan would have shut up and capitulated, they wouldn't have dropped it.
Well, actually, what they said was that 6 weeks before Hiroshima, the Japanese had decided to surrender.
Yeah, but they didn't want to. Yeah, but they wanted to put conditions on it.
Well, all six. There was at the party, or what did they call them? The six. There were six people that must have had to, and they could not agree on what to accept and what to not
Which
accept.
is not surrendering. That means you're only victorious when the vanquished admit that they're beat. Does that make sense? So you can't, in a true deal, you can't have a bunch of. I mean, and I'm going to sound like a war hawk here, but you can't have them putting a bunch of bullshit stipulations on them when you're sitting there with the hammer.
Well, they actually said what they believe led to the Japanese almost, because they said they had plenty of warning that this was going to even happen. And they said they kind of felt like the Japanese sat back and said, well,
called their bluff or something.
No, they said what they were facing was the Russians doing a land invasion, because apparently the Japanese had taken over part of China or something, and the Russians had taken it back, and the Japanese sat back and said, okay, if we basically don't let the United States take us, defeat us, then we're going to get defeated by the Russians, because they're going to come and they're going to totally annihilate us in a land battle. And their thought process was, we would rather, come under quote unquote rule, which is kind of what happened during the rebuilding of everything of the United States, rather than come under the occupation of communists.
Yeah, but MacArthur really handled them with kid gloves after they nuked them.
Depends on who you ask. I'm sure the Jewish population would.
Yeah, I'm not. Hold on, no. I said war criminal. I didn't say the civilian population.
Okay. So you're speaking of how they act,
how they treated our troops when they captured our troops or found our troops wounded in battle. Okay,
yeah.
The Germans, the Germans wholesale killed the Jewish people without question. But when they caught American troops, there was a lot of them that on a case by case basis they killed them. But for the most part, they did not force march them. They did not starve them. They don't have the Bataan Death March was the Japanese. It wasn't the Germans. You know what I mean?
No,
I think MacArthur, for whatever reason, they didn't. They certainly didn't hang the emperor. His kid's the emperor now. They let him keep the royal family. They let him do a lot of stuff that.
Yeah, it's very interesting to.
So they nuked the shit out of them, but at the end of the day, I mean, look at there's a meme, not a meme, but there's a slideshow out there, and I think I've talked about it, haven't I? A kind of a joking slideshow, if you can say joking slideshow. It's got in 1945. It's got how it's got Detroit full of lights and neon lights and all this good. And it's got Japan Hiroshima, Nagasaki just flattened. You know what I mean?
And
And
now
then it's got decade by decade. So it goes like 1945, 55, 65, 75, 85, 95. Well, now Detroit has had some issues, and it doesn't look like it used to look. And that's kind of the joke is why don't we just nuke Detroit and maybe we'll clean it up?
Oh God! But that's as silly as that sounds, I understand. I understand the reasoning behind it. But so no, it's very interesting, and our generation having a lot. Most of us had grandparents that served in World War II and heard stories. So, it's always interesting to me to hear those, shows about it that dig into different aspects, and then imagine, what your grandparents actually went through going over there to fight like that, What the real fight was this morning is, we've established, it's not a secret, I am not very handy. I can't put stuff together.
What was you supposed to be working?
Well, we got yesterday we got a deck box. You know what a deck box is? One of those plastic, it's like a big Rubbermaid type thing that you put outside that you can put stuff in. And so Christy's been wanting to put cushions. We got cushions for this nice set on our deck, and every time we got to bring them inside and put them somewhere, whatever. She's tired of it, so we finally got this deck box. So of course it comes to me to put together, and I'm just terrible. But YouTube is a savior. Anything you want to do, anything you want to put together, it seems like somebody has made a YouTube video on how to do it. Well, imagine that I get the one YouTube video where
wrong. No, I don't know.
Well, he keeps going. Okay, we got to undo this. The directions are wrong. We got to undo this 4 times. I had to undo things that he told me to do because then they were wrong. And I'm like, man, dude, couldn't you just edit this a little bit better? So all I saw was the right stuff. Like, oh my goodness. Oh, I have no patience for that stuff. I'm not very, my dexterity and
why do you have to take? What do you mean it was wrong? There's only 1 or 2 ways the box can go together.
Well, we were in the part where the hinge, the lid, and and like when you screw the side bracket in, like that guy said, he goes, there's only 4, you're only supposed to put 4 screws in on each side, but they give you 9 holes.
So it messes you up?
Well, it messed him up, and it messed him on the bracket. He goes, I don't understand why, if you only are going to use these few holes, they give you so many extra ones. And I'm like, well, so it kind of, for somebody like me that can't look at something and say, oh yeah, that's right. It was a little frustrating. It was a little frustrating. I felt like I was.
And that's because you never had to build nothing when you were a kid, or what?
It's just not my thing. My dad used to like make me go out with him as he worked on his cars and stuff. And it was nothing that ever interested me. I just my mind doesn't think like that, So plus, I didn't enjoy hearing him cuss and swear as he could. As the wrench slipped.
Hey, hold on. Just think of the country music you could write had you stuck with it.
Busted Knuckles.
Yes.
Oh God. Sunday morning
the Busted Knuckles blues, or Sunday
swearing.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Oh gosh. And I told you before we got on, I had a song that I co-wrote that Kenny Chesney's publisher was listening to, and
he didn't like it.
He didn't even get to hear it because the publisher didn't like it. So, these publishers send you back. Oh, thanks for letting us check this out, and and then they just. I mean, it's a 3-minute song, and they write like a 5-page paper on everything that's wrong with it.
Well, and that's my question. Do these publishers? It's kind of like these people that do these screenplays, right? And then they tell you how shitty your screenplay is. But then if you ask them, okay, when have you written one? When was your movie made? Well, it wasn't, but I studied this, or I was a showrunner here, and I was an intern on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, so I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. When it comes to music publishing, that's the way it is with most of them. And but you're pitching something to Kenny Chesney. You're competing against the best of the best. I
don't know. When's the last time he wrote a good song?
He doesn't really write songs.
When's the last time he had a number 1 or top 10?
Oh, he has a couple every year.
I'll look it up.
Yeah, he has a couple every year.
Look it up right now. I can't tell you one Kenny Chesney song.
I think the last couple were he had one called "Beer with My Friends" with was that Old Dominion.
Oh, he couldn't do it. Couldn't hack it on his own.
Well, maybe he was throwing them a bone.
Now I do like Kenny Chesney because I read a interview he gave where he took his first $5,000 check from the movie industry and bought a short bed pickup with it. So he's my kind of guy. Wasn't he married to what's her name? What was he married to?
Renee Zellweger.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of speculation about that. But one of my good friends was at a wedding. His cousin went to school with Kenny
40
Chesney.
top 10 singles.
Yeah, at least. Yeah. Yes, I mean guys like that. I mean, it's hard.
So he's got these gatekeepers.
Mm-hmm. They all do. They all.
I understand that, but
yeah.
But how do they know? But that's my question. These gatekeepers might be keeping out hits.
Well, and they do keep out hits. I mean, they absolutely do. But it's you have to trust, if you're the artist, that they're gonna pick out the 12 or 20 or 50 best ones, and you're gonna pick out the best 10. But of course you're gonna not pick some that end up being hits from other people. It's just the way it is. I mean, but
so what was the thing in his notes that bothered you the most?
Bothered me the most is, and it was this lady that did not understand where.
Oh, it was a chick that was reading his publisher is a chick that tells a dude how to make bar music. Okay, I'm just sorting it out in my head. That's all. I'm not saying anything bad about anybody. I'm just trying to sort out the world. Okay.
Well, so this particular song was called Southern. It's called Southernmost Sunday, and
that's
it is
too many. I would have nixed that too because that's too many words. Southernmost Sunday. How did that ever roll off his tongue?
It sounds pretty good. The demo sounds.
Why didn't you just call it Southern Sunday?
What? I mean,
shorten it up. That's a good editor. Good editor tells you. A good editor tells you how to take something out. So go ahead.
Anyway, so basically it's the singer is at the beach, okay, because that's where they feel closest to God. Okay, and there's a lot of songs that hit that subject. So yes,
God on the beach.
No, about where your quote unquote church is, like where you feel closest to to the man upstairs, whatever that is for people. And the one line that really bothered her is that in the chorus it says he's taken Holy Communion from his Yeti pulpit, one can at a time.
That doesn't flow good, but
it does.
Is she Catholic? Maybe she's Catholic.
It does flow good.
You know what I mean? Maybe I don't. And she didn't like that. What'd she say? I don't like that line.
She just said, I don't know who would sing about taking drinking beer as their communion. And I'm thinking, boy, do you listen to what's on the radio? Every song's about drinking beer. But
maybe it's because you mix it with communion. I don't know. I mean, see, the problem is we have fair weather Christians now.
We have
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that? Is? But I mean, hey, it is what it is. We gotta. We are confident we'll find somebody that will want to cut that song. I mean,
You know what I think we should do? You should do, not me so much, because I don't know if anybody ever write anything I'd write, but there's got to be a band over there in the UK, because you're in Songtown or whatever. Isn't there some country guys cutting music over there or doing
there's lots of people in the UK and Australia and stuff.
That's who you need to be writing for.
Well, we do. I mean, I pitch stuff to the people in the UK and Australia, But the problem is if you don't, it almost takes just a stroke of luck, man. If you don't have your own person, if you don't have your own publisher pushing stuff, you got to hustle on your own.
So it's just like getting a screenplay made.
Yeah, which is another thing.
Ways.
We had me and the judge had an interesting meeting with Phil, our producer, and he was kind enough to take one of our scripts that we gave to him that we thought was a lower budget script, and it was like taking a film class. Talking to Phil. I mean,
because he was nitpicking your stuff that bad.
Well, I mean, he nitpicked it, but it wasn't nitpicking. It was
constructive criticism.
Yeah, it was constructive criticism. Everything that needed to be changed needed to be fixed, and he posed some real good questions to just like you. I mean, I don't know if that's good, but why didn't you change the title to Southern Sunday? Because because the idea of Southernmost Sunday is you're probably in the Keys. That's the southern.
Maybe, or you South America, Central America. I mean, they got, I didn't even know some Mexicans that go to church.
But no, it was great. It was great to talk to Phil, but it just is like, oh my gosh, it really opens your eyes to how much better you got to be to just even pitch if you're not going to be the one if you're not going to be the one with the money to make it, and you're expecting somebody else to have them put up their money and them make it, it's got to be the best stuff they've ever seen. That's just facts. So it was a really good lesson, of how much work we really still have to do on some of our stuff. So I was thankful that Phil took some time out of his busy schedule of producing us and producing other movies to kind of do that. But I will tell you this, man, I don't know how kids these days are going to I don't know how they would take the criticism just like that. I didn't enjoy getting a script back with all the things I did wrong. I didn't enjoy
the red ink on it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't necessarily enjoy the, Kenny Chesney's publisher telling me that stuff, but I can take it. I can accept it. It's just like us getting bad reviews. Like, we make fun of them and we go on. But yeah, you don't want to get bad reviews because you want to make everybody happy. But you got to realize you're not, you're just not going to make everybody happy. Everybody's not going to enjoy what you're doing. So, but I don't know how kids these days, they're pretty fragile. Some of them, how they would ever be able to take some of this criticism. I don't know. It makes me scared for the next wave of artists, people that are trying to produce stuff.
Well, just like everything else, the good ones will survive and the bad ones, I mean, you know what I mean, right?
Mm-hmm. I would
the cream always floats to the top, but know what they say?
But now this really tells me why YouTube and TikTok and all that stuff is so popular, because people get tired of people telling them how bad they suck, and nobody else is going to do your stuff, and they just do it themselves.
Did Justin Bieber do his stuff by himself?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people that just do their own thing on social media, and they find, if they're pretty good, they find their people that are going to follow them, and they just are happy producing for those people, or else then the big people come and say, hey, we got to sign you, So I don't know, but I just, you just have to have tough skin and move on. So, I mean, if I can survive putting the deck box together, I suppose I can survive getting told how bad everything else is.
Right. Yes. I don't know. I got a deck box. I didn't have any problem putting it together, but
Yeah, but you're way better than me.
I don't know about that. I'm just saying
I'm not afraid to even say
I can figure out a a rectangle box with a lid.
Yeah, but I'm going to say it. You're way better than me. So I have
never got a rejection from Kenny Chesney.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the From the Shadows podcast. Until next time, never shy away from the darkness or what may be lurking in the shadows. We are out.